A little bit about myself. I'm a real estate agent and I also invest in real estate on the part-time, but my full-time job is a real estate agent. I currently live, I actually moved out of Leimert Park, moving back to Leimert Park next month. I currently live in West Adams in a multi-unit that I purchased, that I've been moving back to Leimert Park. Just for sake of the fact that for you guys, just in case you can't see the screen, my BRE number is 019758449. That's probably so you know that I'm a legitimate real estate agent. I'm in the top 5% of Keller Williams agents across the country. I do currently own 9 units. I'm putting in a 10th unit, which is an ADU at the place in Leimert Park. I love Vietnamese spring rolls, and my vision for the world is to connect with people, and I love the foundation of vulnerability, really being able to go there with people. Samantha, would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely, Shannon. Always a pleasure being with you and teaching these classes with you. We've been doing them a really long time now, so I'm glad that we can continue doing them on Zoom as well. So I work with Movement Mortgage. I'm a loan officer, and I have to say my license number 2, so it's 1202073, and we're an equal opportunity lender. So we just have to say that in case anybody's listening out there from the CBFP. So anyway, I am one of the top 5% loan officers in the country. I own my own house. I'd love to be like Shannon one day when I grow up and have 10 doors that I lease out, but we'll see at that point. I love spending time with my kids. I should change this because Orange Theory has been closed for so long. So I love working out, getting a good sweat, going out for a run. And my vision for the world is positivity, seeing everything with a silver lining, and gratitude. So let's go ahead and get started, Shannon.
All right. So we're going to just go over some like kind of latest news in the housing market. There's so much conflicting news happening. So wanted to be sure we talk a little bit about what you guys are seeing in the news. And I invite you all to sort of share with me what you're seeing in the news that has you piquing your interest around real estate. Then we're going to look at some of the opportunities in real estate, again, focusing on the West Side and the South LA. And I use commercial real estate as a way to create indication of where places are to invest in. And then we'll talk about where you get started to start investing, or really looking at what's, if you're interested in buying a second home and keeping your old one, just really looking at those opportunities, because Samantha can walk through the loan process today. So a little bit about yourselves. We would love to learn a little bit about you. Danielle, I know you just joined, so hopefully you can also unmute and say a little bit about yourself. We'd love for you to just tell us your name, what you do for work, and what you'd like to learn today. We may not cover it, but we'll cover it in the next one. Who'd like to go first? Or I'm gonna call on you.
I can go first.
Okay, Rick.
Hi, my name is Rick. Everybody, nice to meet you all. I work, I'm a real estate agent with True Line Realty. And I just want to learn what, I know Shannon is deep into real estate investing, so just learn stuff from her and from Samantha, and pick their brains, really.
Awesome. Pam, I'm going to pick on you.
All right. So hi, my name is Pam. And I mean, we bought this house with Sam, so Pam and Sam that I like to go to use. And then I am an architect, so I work with the architecture firm in Venice. And before this, we just started doing like condo and stuff, and now we transitioned to the houses. So I'm really interested in what Shannon's been working on, and, you know, like buying houses. And so I would just kind of join in just to see where we're going with this and want to learn.
Awesome,
more.
Pam.
Yeah, basically.
Love it, love it. Yes. And you'll definitely, yeah, hopefully you'll learn a few things. Phoebe or Marcus, do you both want to go? You can decide your order.
Yeah, my name is Marcus. This is Phoebe. I'm also an architect. I work currently in my home office, mostly on ADUs currently, and some other small residential stuff. And Phoebe and I bought the house 2 years ago here in Leimert Park. And we also always want to learn more about investing. So eventually maybe we can transition into that as well. So that's our perspective, I think. If you want to.
Yeah, and I'd like to know what is happening with the current real estate market and where you all see it, say, in the next year or so, especially trends or valuations. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to see you both. It's been a little while. Danielle, you want to bring up the rear? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yes, sure. And sorry I was late and kind of, I was doing other things, so I'm sorry that I was kind of silent there for a second. But my name is Danielle Belisle. I work as a human resource manager for a nonprofit organization that oversees 180 nonprofit organizations in greater Los Angeles and some throughout the nation. And my interest in this is simply like, how do I actually get into the market? Funny enough, this month, 2 years ago, Shannon, you showed me and my now ex a home in Leimert Park. It didn't go through. We've since divorced. And I just want to know how I can get into the market and how I can participate, kind of what's going on. Seems almost like a little bit of an unrealistic dream at this point because of the, the cost. So I'm kind of curious to know what it's looking like and what opportunities are out there for somebody who wants to get in.
Fantastic. Yeah. This will be a great way to really get a sampler into a couple different neighborhoods then. And it's good to see you again. For sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So what's happening? Sam, do you want to split this slide up a little? I'm going to split this slide up. Okay, I'll start with the challenges.
You start.
Okay. So what's happening, in my opinion, right now, the national news media is saying like, oh, foreclosures are around the bend. The additional unemployment numbers, meaning like they were giving an additional amount up until July 31st. So we're really rounding that corner fairly soon. Some of the forbearance is also coming due, or it's, there's a lot of loan modifications that are happening, also called loan mod. And really the expectation from the national news is, we're about to hit the bubble. I don't think it's as large as a bubble as 2008, but I do think there's a bubble. However, here are our challenges when it relates to just Los Angeles County and how that doesn't concur per se with national news. We have a shortage of inventory. We don't have enough homes to go around for the number of buyers taking advantage of incredibly low rates. Unemployment is on the rise, and we see that is infecting the market, but we still have a lot of people here with good jobs that can afford a home and want to get into the market. So even I'm concerned that maybe the unemployment might be among more of the working class or lower middle class, and they may not have been in a position to purchase a home prior to this. So they're still not in position. We are seeing, though, unemployment hitting in middle and upper class areas, but very specific, like entertainment, restaurants. So any of the things that are very heavily affected by the pandemic, and making sure we have, we're just minimizing the number of people out and about, those industries top to bottom are being affected. But that does leave a large number of other people still employed. With good salaries. Sam, why don't you kind of go over what you're noticing when it comes to purchases?
Yeah, and I was just going to get a couple numbers for you guys too that I was looking at from yesterday. So actually, I should change this number because purchases, this was a slide that we used in the past. It's actually up 30% nationwide, guys. So I think most people who are not in the market to buy a house right now have their feet up watching the news going, oh yeah, and who would buy a house right now? Let me tell you, I have never seen so many applications for purchases, for pre-approvals. I'm here in LA, and I think Shannon as well can attest to this. The buyers are putting offers on places where they're getting 29, 23, 26 offers per house. So that guy who's sitting in his house right now, who's owned his house and plans to never move, who probably thinks nobody is buying right now, who would do that, is totally wrong. There's so many buyers. So we're up 30% in purchases. We're actually up 111% in refinances. So everybody is eligible to refinance to a lower rate right now. So that's really great news. There also is just to go back a little bit to what Shannon was saying, the news is saying that 30%, I think something came out yesterday, 30% of people are behind on their mortgages, but that's actually doesn't take into, that also includes people who are late on their rent. So it's not a real number. So you have to just be really careful with what you're hearing these days. Everybody's just trying to grasp at like what's really happening. So just take everything with a grain of salt. There are properties out there, the sellers still need to sell and buyers still need to buy, whether there's a life change or something like that. If a seller has their house up on the market and it's been sitting a long time, it's probably because they have it listed too high. And then that gives an opportunity for a buyer to come in and say, hey, Mr. Seller, your house has been listed for so long. I can see on Redfin, it's been up for, 180 days. If I offer you your list price, will you pay me my closing costs, or can you help pay my interest rate even further down? Right now rates are anywhere as low as like 2 3/4 and up. Maybe you could even have that seller help you purchase your interest rate even lower than that, which would be crazy, but really set you off to having basically free money for the 30 years. So that is, I think also the last point is just, I think a lot of people have a little bit more time at home and being able to refine their goals. And if they do want to buy, this is sort of like the time to do it because they have a little bit more time to check, figure out how to do it and not be so overwhelmed with work and say like, oh, I'll just push it off for another few years.
Yeah, I will say this. I do think that, I'm not going to be one of those agents. It's like, it's always going up. I'm like, no, it is not always going up. We happen to be going up right now. And a little bit of my concern is, yes, when we look down the road a little, I'm not certain that there isn't going to be some price adjustments. But the thing I need to see in today's, in the Los Angeles County market, I need to see the inventory go up because we have more buyers that want to buy than we have homes to buy, even the overpriced homes, right? So I want to see a little more of a balance in that. So just know that I don't always think that we're going up, but we happen to be going up now. There's too many incentives. Okay, so.
Shannon, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Who are the buyers that you're seeing? Are they out of town, like people not from LA moving to LA, or people switching houses within LA?
So I see a mixture, and Sam, I'm curious what you see because you and I both see kind of similar buyers. But I will say that the market in LA is starting to become the tale of two markets, and it might become the tale of three markets fairly soon. Anything priced under $1.2 million in Los Angeles that's priced according to their neighborhood. You can't just want 1.2 because you want it. It's selling like hotcakes. There's multiple offers. People want in because that's where the majority of people, when you look at their incomes, they're making between the average home price in Los Angeles, in all of the county, it's not just the city, all of the county is just shy of $600,000. It's like $598, right? So if you make if your home is priced at $650,000 to $550,000, you're right in that sweet spot. Most number of people in the market can afford your home. If you're priced above that, again, you still have a lot of buyers in that market. You start to thin out at about 1.2 million, and less buyers there. And then above 3 to 3.5 million, there's not very many buyers. And those buyers are very savvy. And if they want to hang on to their $3.5 million loan or cash, they will. They won't want to buy something if they feel it's risky. So now you have a complete buyer's market in that high end, and you have a complete seller's market in the low end. And I think we'll begin to see some shifting on that price. And the third market might be things like foreclosures, short sales, and those type of things that will begin to impede the inventory. But right now we don't see it, and they're not in the market now. And there's no guarantee that having those come into the market will drop prices. That's what everyone keeps thinking. It's going to drop the price. I'm like, when there's not enough inventory, it'll just get eaten up like a regular sale. Sam, what do you see?
And so I would say two things. I actually think there's a fourth market. So I work with lots of first-time home buyers. So a lot of people right now are looking to buy a house as a first-time home buyer because they just are sick of paying rent. And they find like if rates are so low, and it's almost like contagious. Like if your friend is doing it or your sister's doing it, then your cousin's doing it, and then everybody kind of gets that like anxiety, like, oh my God, I gotta go buy. And then they look on Redfin and houses are up for sale, and then they go so fast. So it just kind of promotes this, I think, surge of people wanting to buy. I also think these people who haven't been able, I've seen a lot of people who have now been told they can work from home indefinitely, including my husband who works for Amazon. So a lot of these people are coming to me saying, like, if I can work from home, I want to get out of LA. I want to go buy I want to buy a second home. Maybe I'll stay in LA, but I'm going to go buy a place in Joshua Tree. Or I'm going to just go buy in a suburb so that I don't have to pay West Side prices, and I can go get a big house in maybe like, who are our clients buying? Like Valencia.
We have a client in Santa Clarita.
Or suburbs, just the suburbs, right? Get outside of the city, get a lot more house. So I'm seeing a lot of people doing that. A lot of people are buying in Joshua Tree right now. It's crazy. I think I have one like every other week.
Yeah.
Well, is it also that we see a lot of houses coming on the market because of that? For example, in Leimert Park, I feel like there's many more homes for sale currently because of these reasons, because people are more flexible and they maybe want to live somewhere else, or
yeah, maybe move out of state because it's cheaper and they can get a good price now because it's a seller's market in that lower price range.
Also, what I'm noticing with my sellers that are currently coming on market is they have been thinking about selling and they've been dragging their feet for whatever reason, lots of different reasons. Oh, well, I just didn't feel now they feel like, oh no, if the market shifts, I don't want to be stuck in the shift. And I actually tell them we're in the shift now, but they feel like the shift is coming, where I believe the shift is here. That's okay. It's optics. Still, they're in a rush to get their home on the market so they can, quote, get the top dollar they can get for today's market, and then take that and go somewhere else and be location neutral, work from home. So that is shifting the dynamics. And I do think that I'm noticing more people rushing onto the market at this very moment, whereas May, they weren't interested in rushing. They said, I want to see how it goes. I kept hearing, I want to see how it goes. And now they're like, Shannon, how quickly can you get my home on the market? When this whole time we could have been preparing for that rather than just go, I'm like, okay, well, we'll get it as fast as possible. Here we go. So that's what I'm noticing when it comes to listing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys, this is like, when I look at investing in property, I look at middle-class brands in order to understand where the best places are to go invest. So we're switching gears a little, but we can go back to the kind of the news part. We have a Q&A at the end, which you always have about 8 to 10 minutes of Q&A. So for me, my favorite brands to look at are Targets, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, and I will, as a first indicator, I'll look at a first indicator is Starbucks. So if there's a Starbucks in a neighborhood, but there's no Target and no Trader Joe's or Sprouts, that means like Starbucks has decided like there is enough income by the surrounding areas, because it's a very local thing. Like Starbucks will almost place sometimes as far as 4 or 5 blocks from one another, because they believe there's enough income in that area. So I like to see a Starbucks. I was like, oh, there's a Starbucks here. Oh, the neighborhood is already changing. When I see a Target is a much larger footprint. It's a much larger capital expense to put in a Target or to put in a Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is very picky. They want to make sure that, this was about 8 years ago. I spoke to someone who did a lot of research on Trader Joe's. They actually used to be at Starbucks and placement of Starbucks. The Trader Joe's wants to know that you can spend a minimum of $120 per ticket, meaning like if you go in, they're going to make an average of 120. If it's like $45 per, it's not enough money for them to want to put a Trader Joe's in. So that when they get that granular with the incomes of particular neighborhoods, that means they can see a middle class shift in certain neighborhoods. So as you can see, I've taken 5 neighborhoods. I've taken sections of Mar Vista 90066, sections of North Inglewood, which is very desirable because it's right against Westchester. and it's right next to the hill, View Park in like Windsor Hills, 90302. I took the section of Leimert Park, 90008. Jefferson Park, which is an alternative to Leimert Park. When you can't quite get into Leimert Park, you go to 90018, and then 90016 is highly desirable because it's on the Expo line, and it connects Santa Monica and downtown through that section. So also dubbed Mid-City. So I took these 5 areas, and then you can see here, I plotted all the Trader Joe's and all the Targets and the Sprouts. Trader Joe's, like as far when it comes to the west side, as far east that they're going is right here in the Culver Junction area, right here in Fox Hills Mall, and then they do have one in Westchester right here off of Sepulveda. So they haven't made the jump over. There have been many conversations about it coming into the mall. Trader Joe's has been shy about pulling the trigger, and they can always wait until the mall is established and then ask for commercial space later. So people want them to flagship in right away, but a lot of times they'll make the decision much later if they don't have something there. They have a lot of options along West Adams. Oops, pardon me. So keep in mind that, you know, we have this, and then going on the east side, we have downtown, and there's a Trader Joe's right by USC. So you can see that when commercial commitments like that come towards the center, they're going to eventually come to the center. So there's a lot of opportunity, I believe, in this neighborhood, in this area. Target has made a commitment off of Adams. They're going to put a smaller Target. And that's pushing east. There's already a Target by USC serving a lot of the USC students. So that's pushing from the west. Sprouts also has made a commitment for space along Adams in the Mid-City area. So again, these are like things that I use to indicate where are good places to invest in. Once they already establish, like the home prices have already gone up. So, and then a lot of times people want to get into a home then, or get into an investment property then. They're like, oh, thank goodness there's a Trader Joe's. I feel like I could live here, right? I have clients that do say that to me when they buy. And then other times I'll say, hey, look, there isn't a lot of these large brands, but you know, I see a few Starbucks in the neighborhood. I feel like we're going towards that way, right? Or if clients are like, no, I want to find something and be more of a pioneer, then we're going to look for liquor stores and check cashing places, and we're going to look for places that to me means that the neighborhood is not turned over. My other favorite thing to look at now is Metro. I love where Metro is going. Where Metro goes, I want to go. Mm-hmm. Because Metro is a commitment to getting out of your cars, and this city can't accommodate any more cars, in my opinion. So our lifestyles have to switch and shift away from cars, and this whole stay-at-home, work-from-home is absolutely going to be that part of that shift. All right. So I took some averages of the last year of an average priced home in each of the 5 zip codes. Mar Vista's average priced home is just under 1.6 million. And then you compare that to the other side of the 405, and you're looking at Mid-City at 900,000, Leimert Park at 965, Jefferson Park at 788, and North Inglewood at 690. So that tells you the west side is very desirable. It's very expensive. Also, the square footage of the homes vary quite a bit. You can see here Mar Vista is above 2,000, Mid-City's very close to Jefferson Park in the 1,500 to 1,600 realm. Leimert Park has some larger homes, so a little bit larger, up to 1,900 square feet. And then Inglewood, there's a lot of small bungalows there, so they're about average 1,180. I looked at lot size, but I also looked at number of homes sold. So Mar Vista has a lot of turnover in the last year from May to May. 298 homes. Mid-City has 197, and then we have 115 in Leimert Park, and Jefferson Park 125. North Inglewood, it's a smaller section, so it is smaller, 44, but still that's very small, which means a lot of the homes are being held by families and they're not turning over as quickly. So, and I just want to note an interesting note. I kept the old slide because Samantha and I did this presentation in October. And so I did an October to October number because I think a lot of people are thinking, well, here's my time to find a deal. if you look at these numbers, they're actually lower. So our home prices have gone up between 1.6 here to 1.46. You can see, you know, 8.99 here and 8.05. Leimert Park 9.65, 9.49. Jefferson Park 7.50, 7.88. So all of the numbers are up from last year. So everyone, when I speak to people who want to start investing or want to buy their first home, they're waiting, quote, for a deal. I said, maybe the deal is you get to buy it at last year's prices, because that would be a deal in these neighborhoods, right? Versus I hear people, they literally tell me, I want $200,000 off the price. I'm like, well, me too, then I'll buy it before you buy it. We can't always get the deal we want, right? We get the deal that's available for the market to pay. So keep that in mind. And if you ever hear me say, oh, maybe I can get you a deal like what the price would be last year, people don't think that's very funny, but I chuckle. Okay, so Sam, walk us through how to purchase.
Slide 2, Shannon.
Say again?
Go back to that slide 2. I think it's when you buy, right, for like maybe someone like Danielle, right? When you buy, it's the long-term investment. So if you were to buy now, and yes, everything that Shannon's showing here is that last year to this year, the prices are up, which most people don't even believe, but it's true when you look at the actual numbers. You're buying for that long term. It's not that you're going to buy and then sell it in a few weeks because it's worth less, right? So you're going to ride it out, and all the while you won't have to pay rent, and you'll get to enjoy the benefits of home ownership, the tax benefits, and just being able to control your payment for those 30 years and then own something and not have a payment anymore. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about buying versus renting. And so does anybody have any questions about what Shannon just discussed, or should we just go to my stuff here?
Shannon?
Yes?
Hey, a question. With Inglewood and like the stadium and the Forum, and then I guess the new Clippers arena, do you think that's, how's that playing in that area? Is it making it more desirable, or is it just?
To me, that discussion as an investor was 5 years ago. So people that want to get into Inglewood now get to pay the highest prices for a perception that the Clippers, the stadium in general, the whole stadium, it's a mall, it's a hotel, it's apartments, there's rentals, there's condos. It's the biggest, largest mixed-use project currently in all of LA County. And to me, like, I love how people think it's still up and coming. I'm like, look, that 5 years ago when they made the decision, nothing broke ground, people were clamoring and rushing in. So now you got to clamor and rush in and pay a little extra. Then you got to ride 5 years up of appreciation for the last 5 years. So to me, it's like what you get now, you have to find a use today for it. Like, it can't be this future. Like, you want to live in it, you want to invest in it right now. It's got to make sense right now. So to me, it's a has-been, like, for me at least, conversationally and price-wise. When people are like, I'm ready to go get one. I'm like, okay, we'll get you one. So just having some, yeah, it's already there. It's been a discussion for a long time.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. So now I thought it would be a good time to talk about what's called a renovation loan. And this is what's called an FHA 203K loan. For those of you who already are homeowners, you may or may not be eligible for this, but there is a conventional loan program where you can use this type of financing, and that one's called Home Style. But this is more just for somebody who wants to purchase a property, whether it's owner occupied or an investment property. Go back. This actual example is based on owner occupied, okay? But the way it would work is you find a distressed property, maybe one of those that's been sitting on the market for a long time that nobody wants, that maybe in the description it says being sold as is, like there's a lot of trouble with this property, it needs a lot of repair. And what you can do is you can buy the house with the renovation money tied into your loan, all bundled up together. So it's not a construction loan where you have to pay it off in any certain time. It's a 30-year fixed loan. So you take, let's say we're buying a place that's $500,000. You put $100,000 of repairs in it. So now that when we add A plus B, you get to $600,000, right? And then on an FHA renovation loan, or the 203K we call it, the buyer would only need to put 3.5% down on that newly renovated value. Now in Los Angeles, if you put $100,000 into a $500,000 property, it'll likely be worth more than 600, maybe 615, 620, something like that. But for lender guidelines, we just use this very basic formula. So now the client would only need to put 3.5% down on 600,000 versus buying a place for 500 and then having to come up with 100 of that renovation money. So it really helps a lot of people get into a place without a lot of money out of pocket. If those of you who are on the call right now are thinking, well, this could be kind of cool. What if I bought that investment property I've been thinking about and then I don't have to use all of my money for remodeling? That would work as well. You can't put 3.5% down, but you could do like 25% down of that new renovated value. So that way you could save that money for the renovation in your pocket and finance it.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
Does it also apply for refinancing?
It can also apply for refinancing, yes. So if you had a lot of repairs that need to be done within the property, you could finance those. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So in the case of the $500,000 distressed property for somebody who's going to own or occupy it and use that FHA program, they'd only have to put 3.5% down. So now they only need to come in with $21,000 for the down, a little bit more for the closing costs. So for $40,000 out of pocket versus $100 plus the down payment, right? $100 for the renovation, they're only coming in with $40. And then their payment all in is $36.41 a month, which is pretty close to probably what they're paying right now in rent. And maybe they could house hack it. If this is a house that's $500,000 and has 2 bedrooms, maybe they could rent out a bedroom, or maybe it's a property that's zoned for 2 to 4 units and it only has 1 standalone unit on it, or like Shannon has a property right now where she's building an ADU. Then you could rent out that part and have them help you make the payment. So I just think it's a really great program to know about. Not a lot of people know about it. A lot of people think only construction financing or a home equity line of credit is the only way to finance renovation. And this is a great program to have as a tool. So a little bit more about it, just to go a little bit deeper. You can avoid having to come out of pocket with the cash. So it's the A plus B equals C model, right? So house price plus renovation amount is the new value. And just food for thought, if you buy a place or you find a place that's $500,000, the max renovation amount is 50% of the purchase price. So you could actually put $250,000 into the property and come out with a $750,000 value. And so long as all of those repairs and everything that you're going to do in the property can be compared to other recently sold properties in the area, right? You're not the highest price house on the block, but that all that $250,000 that you put in really is supported by other recently sold properties. You're good to go. So what you do is it's time consuming. So it's really for the right type of buyer who has extra time on their hands, not an attorney who's billing, 200 hours a week. Like it's not going to work for them. But what you do is you bring your contractor with you to your showing appointment. Make sure maybe you even have a contractor already picked out before then. You're not interviewing 3, but you have one. You already trust them and you're ready to rock. They come in, they see the house. And you say, okay, I can spend up to $250,000 of renovation. What would we do? And you go through with them, and then they create a line item bid to explain exactly all the things that they're going to do with that $250,000. Then they take that and we share that with the appraiser. And that's why this process takes so long, is because it takes a contractor a couple of weeks to put that bid together. And then it takes the appraiser a couple of weeks to review all of it, make sure it's all okay with the investor, whether it's FHA or conventional. And then the appraiser will validate that the value is there, and then we can go ahead and proceed with the loan. All of this probably takes closer to 45 days than a typical 30-day escrow. Then what happens is we close. The borrower puts their 3.5% down on that new value, right? We close, and in the case that we were using before, that example where it was a $500,000 house, with 100,000 of repairs, that 100,000 goes into an escrow account and sits in that account for them and gets paid to the contractor. It has to be a licensed and bonded contractor, not like your dad or somebody who's handy. So it goes to them in installments. So you never have to worry about where's that money going to sit. It gets paid to them. All the while you have a 30-year fixed loan and you don't have to refinance. You could if you wanted down the line, no problem, and likely you will, because the values will continue to appreciate and you'll be paying the loan down and maybe you don't need the mortgage insurance anymore and so forth. So that's how that works. Shall we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was it. So any questions? Like I guess what we want to do now is go around the room and have you guys tell us your name one more time, what you learned, and then the next slide we'll take questions.